Goodness me. Good morning, everybody. Right. Good morning. Happy Monday already. The weekends go far too fast. So, I've got you set up on an iPad again, just to the left of me. So, bear with me if I keep flicking over it so that I can see your comments and everything, because that's a bit too far away. But hello, I hope that you are all doing well and you've had a lovely weekend and you are ready to get stuck back into signing along with me. This is the last week of our lives to celebrate our 30th birthday, but we hope that you can stick with us and join us for today's session and for the rest of the weeks as well. And if not, we can always catch up again on Friday when you're probably a little bit more free, or over the weekend. But don't worry, none of our videos are going to be deleted, so you can always come back and recheck through them as many times as you wish at your own leisure. So if someone can just give me the big thumbs up that you can hear me and you can see me okay, and then I shall get going with you this morning. Just check. Just move those away. Okie dokie. So, as with most of our videos and our lives, I'm going to quickly whiz through the skills and the methodology of how to perform our signs, so that then you can accurately and correctly perform our signs going forward, not just for the ones that we're going to learn today, but for any of our nearly 9,000 signs that we have in our library, and for all future signs that we may develop too. So, to get started, we are going to pick our working hand and our supporting hand. We don't refer to them as left and right. All of our sign descriptions will have a label of a working or a supporting hand. We say that your working hand should be your most dominant hand. So for me, that's right-handed. And then my supporting hand will be my left hand. When I'm signing and I don't need to use my supporting hand, I tuck it out of the way so that your full concentration is on my working hand and you can see my sign nice and clearly. We say that pick a hand that is the most dominant to you because it's the one you're likely to grab things with first. It's your go-to hand. But once you pick your working hand and your supporting hand, keep the consistency in which hand that you are using, because it keeps accuracy and consistency when you are performing your signs to your communication partner. So bear that in mind. Okay, so we are going to just quickly share this so that other people can join. I know there's a few that wanted to join in. Okie dokie, I'm going to get started. Hopefully that you can catch up on any that you've missed. And as I said, don't worry, because all of these parts of the videos are on the beginning of all of our videos that have been posted over the weeks since the beginning of April. So you can always catch up on these skills once the video has ended as well. Okay, so we're going to start off with labelling our signing window. So this is an invisible frame that goes around you as the signer, and it's where most of our signs will take place. It's where you'll perform all of our signs, and we try to say that don't extend it too far other than just above your head, out to your shoulders, down the side, and just below your waist. Some can take place up in the top of the signing window, some can take place right down the bottom, some right down in the middle, and then some out towards the edges as well. So you don't want to make it too big. Like this, you wouldn't be able to see what my hands are doing, and don't reach up too high and don't reach down too low. Likelihood is that you're going to be at eye level with your communication partner anyway. So imagine you've got an invisible frame here and there's an imaginary line down the middle too. That's going to help us going through the next of them. So as I said, keep your signing window nice and clear. You'll see that I have no jewellery on, no watches, no rings, no fancy distracting clothing, anything like that. It does help that I'm obviously repping Signalong, but it's so that you can concentrate on my hands and you can clearly see what I'm signing and you're not distracted by other things. Also, granted the aircon is in the way, I can't move that unfortunately, but I've got a nice distraction free background as well so that the clear and concise signs can be seen. So just bear that in mind when you're performing your signs. to a slightly larger audience maybe than just 1 or 2 people. So that's our placement. We then have our hand shapes. You'll see probably if you've watched our other videos that we have a little saying called hop to move. Helps us remember our methodology and our key skills for our signs, which stands for hand shape, orientation, placement and movement, because once you've established the hand shape, orientation and placement, the sign can then move. Originally we thought that we didn't have many signs that moved, but actually it turns out that nearly all of them move. So bear that in mind, and they're all denoted by a nice clear arrow on our signs as well. So I'll show you that when we get through to a little bit further. But for the meantime, we are going to learn our hand shapes so that we can get our signs all nice and perfect. Okay, so tucking my supporting arm away because I only need my working hand for all of these. So we have a flat hand, a nice clear, straight, flat, no kinks, no curves, no gaps, flat hand. From there, we'll stretch our fingers out, and this is then an open hand. Going from there, just curl those fingers and that thumb over to a clawed hand. It kind of looks like this from the side. Going back to your flat hand, just bending those fingers over slightly. This is then a bent hand. Turn that over and slightly curve those fingers and thumb together, but again keeping it all nice and tightly packed together. I always say, and we always say to be fair at Signalong, imagine you've got a pool of water in your hand and you can't let any of it escape. That's then your cupped hand. We then take our fingertips and our thumb, close those together to become a bunched hand, so just bunch those all together. Going from your flat hand, bend those fingers all the way down, keeping your fingernails nice and visible. This is a closed hand. Tucking those fingernails away and securing them all with our thumb. This is then a fist, or a fist hand, I should say. From there, take your index finger and your thumb, curve them both round to create this nice semicircle C shape, and this is a C hand. Take your remaining fingers to be in line with that index finger, keeping that shape. Just kind of move my head out of the way and you'll be able to see that there is a gap here. This is a full C hand. Then we have an O hand. Take that index finger and thumb to meet and extend your other 3 fingers. Keep it nice and fully circle in here. This is an O hand. Bringing those 3 fingers in line with that index but not touching your thumb tip. This is then a full O hand. So again, keeping that nice round shape. Going from your flat hand, tuck your little finger and your thumb away, keeping your index, middle and 3rd finger visible and extended. This is your M hand. Tuck your 3rd finger away, keeping just the index and middle finger extended. It's an N hand. Keep that index finger up and tuck everything else away. Bend it over just slightly at the at your knuckle to create a hook shape. This is your R hand. And again, as always, I'll turn it around so you can kind of see all of this is tucked away, but it's just hooked over like this for an R hand. Then taking your index and your middle finger, extending those and spreading them apart to create a V hand. There are 16 basic hand shapes, and then we have 10 additional hand shapes. So from our flat hand, you want to take your index, middle and 3rd finger and tuck those away, leaving your thumb and little finger extended to create a Y hand. And as I say, it kind of makes that Y shape when you look at it. From a fist, we want to extend our index finger. This is an index hand. Nice and simple, does what it says on the tin, just an index hand. Tuck everything away into that nice tight shape, extended your thumb. This is a thumb hand. Thumb away, extend your little finger for a little finger hand. I'll just turn it there so you can see, it's just my little finger extended. We then have an open pinched hand. So you take your thumb and your index finger, keep those parallel together, but with a gap in between. This is an open pinched hand. Then we have a closed pinched hand, which is simply just closing that shape together. A closed pinched hand. Going back to that open, but bringing your other 3 fingers in line with your index finger, keeping that parallel and nice clear gap. This is a parallel bent hand. So you've got your bent hand like this, just extend that thumb to be parallel. A parallel bent hand. Extend those fingers up, keeping them nice and tight, and keep your thumb parallel with your fingers. This is a parallel flat hand. Extend your index finger and your thumb. This is an L hand. And then you want to bring that thumb back up and tuck your index finger over your thumb to create a tucked hand. And that looks like this. So you take your thumb, your index finger wraps over the top. This is a tucked hand. So they're all of our hand shapes. Don't worry if you don't remember them all or you get a little bit stuck going through. It's absolutely fine. Because if they're on all of our videos, you can go back and re-watch them and relearn those. But for the purpose of today, because we've done them now since the beginning of April, I'm pretty sure most of you that have stuck with us and have watched all of our videos are experts. So I'm whizzing through them all nice and quickly so we can get to the signs that you can learn. So orientation is formed of 2 parts, palms facing and hands pointing. I'll come to the hands pointing in a second. But palms facing means wherever our palm of our hand is facing. They can face in 6 directions. So in, out, up, down, forwards and backwards. The bonus of learning these is that you actually get a few more extra signs in here. So palms in looks like the sign for big. So taking that imaginary signing window that we've got, that frame, our palm is facing in towards the middle of the signing window, so big. Out, so you see my palm, no matter where the rest of my hand is, my palm is facing out of the signing window, like in the sign for poorly or ill. Palms up, so again my palm, just my palm, is facing up towards the top of the signing window, like in the sign for today or now. Palms down, so my palm pointing down towards the bottom of the signing window, like in the sign for chair. Palm forward, so my palm is facing forward, like in the sign for stop. And then palms back, like in the sign for love. When we talk about hands pointing, we talk about it from our wrist to our palm knuckles. So just this section here of your hand, wherever that is pointing, that's what we mean. So not necessarily any of your fingers and your thumb, just this section here. Again, it's the same 6 directions. So we have in, out, up, down, forwards and backwards. They look more complicated when I do it like this, but you'll see once we get to do some signs. So pointing in, so again, just this part here, pointing in towards our middle of our signing window, like in the sign for sit. Out, so you see my wrist to my palm knuckles is pointing out, like in the sign for person. Pointing up, so here to here is pointing up, like in the sign for building. Pointing down, so as I said, this part of my hand is pointing down towards the bottom of our signing window, like in the sign for down. Forward, so you see it's pointing forward, like in the sign for book. And then back, like in the sign for me. So you see this part of my hand is pointing back towards the signer, so in the sign for me, or just taking your index finger for I. some handy signs for you to learn there. We then have diagonals. They're denoted with a slash, like a forward slash in our sign descriptions, but that will be where they're on a diagonal. So like in the sign for house. So you'll see it will say palm in and down, so on a diagonal, pointing in and up for house. They're always quite complicated to look at, but once you sort of figure out which direction and angle you need to be at, they're nice and simple. As we said, we have our hand shapes, our orientation and our placement down to a T now, or at least mostly there. Our signs can then move. They're denoted by an arrow on all of our diagrams, like I said, and there are a list of them which I'll whiz through for you at the end of this bit. But for the moment, we're going to learn the directions the sign can move in. It's the same 6. So in, out, up, down, forwards and backwards. So they can move in, like in the sign for boy. They can move out, like in the sign for cat. They can move up, like in the sign for up. They can move down, like in the sign for trousers. They can move forward, like the sign for fish, not to be confused with shark. And they can move back, like in the sign for come, to come. Our signs can also circle, and what we mean by that is they go round, but they can circle horizontally, vertically, forwards and backwards. So I'll give you some examples. Circling horizontally looks like the sign for park. So that's park. Circling out, so out of our signing window, looks like the sign for where. So where. They can circle in vertically, like in the sign for school. So school. They can circle out vertically again, like in the sign for sun. They can circle forward. So turn sideways so you can see. So forward, like in the sign for train. And then they can circle back, like in the sign for wait. When we say circling, we give you a little thing to remember. So you have hop to move to remember your key skills and your methodology. And then we say for movement, the best way to remember it is in for a hug. So when it circles in, it looks like you're going to hug somebody or something. And then out for the clout, which usually looks like you're going to hit someone or something on the way out. So just remember that. And it doesn't matter if it's in vertically and out, or horizontally, or forwards and backwards. So it's just something to help you remember that. We then have a formation movement, which is where you'll have 2 different hand shapes potentially. So like in horse, so we'll have a V hand and an N hand, and the whole thing together will move as one. So this would be to ride a horse, or to ride a horse. And you'll also have things like boat. So 2 different hand shapes or orientations there, but they will move together as one solid unit. And it will always be denoted as that on our sign description. It will say X, Y and Z, formation moves. So you know that whatever orientation you're in, so for like a teapot, you know, things like that, it will all move as one solid unit together. So I'm going to show you our movement symbols that are pictured on our diagrams that you will see in our signs. Just going to whiz through these as they are because it's quicker. So this one is a continuous movement in one direction. This is a backwards and forwards movement, so like in the sign for hello. This is a broken movement, so a stop start. So it will be like in the sign for takeaway. This is a movement in one direction and then another. This is a repeated movement, so any movement arrow you see that has a double head means that that sign will repeat. Same same exact process. This is like in the sign for cat, a sign that moves in opposite directions. So like, that was terrible. Like in the sign for cat. I need an octopus and more hands. Then we have a sign that ends with emphasis. So it's more of a sharp no, rather than like this. You need to no. We then have these lovely confusing diagram arrows, which are signs that start closed, open, close again. So like in the sign for bubbles. So it's open, closes, so bubbles. We then have this movement arrow, which is a sign that starts opened and then closes. So like in the sign for man or Santa. And then the opposite of this starts closed and opens. So like in the sign for light or lamp. We then have this lovely splat diagram, which means contact takes place. So like in the sign for jumper or to eat. And then the last one is our quivering hand. You might not always see that, but what you will see, if I get nice and close, hopefully you can see it, is the little vibrating lines that you'll see. And that's where your hand will quiver, like in the sign for tree. So it will just quiver away. So that's all of the key skills and the methodology that you need to perform our signs. I hope that everybody has followed along well. If you've got any questions, don't forget to just pop them in the comments and I can answer them as I'm going along. On Thursday, we did a couple of extra signs if people wanted to know what the sign for a particular thing was. So don't forget to pop those in and I can answer those as we go along. But for now, I'm going to teach you the signs on our Taking a Stand poster. So we have a manual for It's My Life and independent living and things like that, where we promote independence and standing up for yourself. Basically, as somebody who has learning impairments or things like that, you need to understand how to correctly convey yourself and stick up for yourself in certain situations. We know that it's not always possible, but at least we try and provide the signs for you to be able to do that, or at least teach somebody to know the correct signs to be able to do that if they felt that they were able to. So some of these might be appropriate, some of them might not for you, but that's absolutely fine. If you've got any certain signs that you want to know the sign for, I'm happy to give them to you now. We also have a lot more, as I said, on our sign library, where every single sign that we've ever developed is held, as well as in our manuals and on our posters, on our text service, etc. So fingers crossed, if there is a sign that you want, we will have it. So let's get started. The first one is nice and simple, and it's the sign for stop. We feel it's the most appropriate sign because whatever is happening, you want somebody to stop. It's nice and concise. You can't argue with this is the sign for stop. So working flat hand, palm forward, pointing up, held in front of body, is held in front of working side of body. So my working hand, this is then my working side. Working flat hand, no kinks, no curves, palm forward, pointing up, and it's just held in front of your working side of your body. So stop. It's a nice simple one there, and there's no movement, so you wouldn't see a movement arrow in there. It's just this, stop. Then we have calm down. This is also the sign for wait, we have a different one which I will show you actually. So we take our O hands, palms forward pointing up, and they move down and out. So just for calm. Calm. The other one that we have that's on this poster is also the sign for wait or patience. So this will be our flat hands, palms down, pointing in, our working hand above, make alternate slow backwards circles. So calm down, or just be patient. Just wait. Excuse me. I've got the hiccups and everything today. Next we have safe, and this is to feel safe, to be safe. So if you're in a certain situation and you might sense some anxiety from your communication partner, you can say to them that you're safe. It's okay, it's safe, it's not a problem. So we're going to take our working closed hand, keep those fingernails nice and visible, palm down pointing forward, on supporting closed hand, palm up pointing forward and in. So on that nice diagonal, formation moves back towards supporting side of the body. So all of this together is going to move back towards your supporting side. So the sign for safe is safe. I'll read that to you again. Working closed hand, palm down, pointing forward. On supporting closed hand, palm up, pointing forward and in. Formation moves back towards supporting side of body. Safe. Remember to clearly speak as you sign, because it will promote speech, especially in those who struggle to speak or who are non-verbal. The more that you encourage that speech as you sign, the more they will try and mimic that for you, and eventually they will grasp that ability to speak as they sign too. And don't worry if it's not completely accurate. Remember that you are signing for communication, and as long as they understand you, goal achieved. What you don't want is to constantly badger them to get it perfect. It doesn't matter. If they can understand what you're saying and what you're signing, and you can understand their reaction to that, you're communicating, and it's job. So that's the sign for safe. We then have the sign for police. It might seem like a strange one, but you never know. You just might need to call the police, and it's handy to know what the sign is for that. So we're going to take our working V hand, palm down, pointing forward, draws across supporting wrist, palm down, pointing in. So police. Nice and simple, police. I'll read that again for you so you've got the description. Working V hand, palm down, pointing forward, draws across supporting wrist, palm down, pointing in, police. Next we have interview. It might be an interview that you need to give the police. It might be an interview for a job. But either way, it's quite handy for a sign to know, and promoting that self-independence as well. So interview. Index hands, so both of them. Palms in, pointing up. Held in front of chin. Hands move backwards and forwards alternately several times. So interview. Again, interview. Index hands, palms in, pointing up, in front of chin, hands move backwards and forwards alternatively several times, interview. It's kind of like the sign for communicate, and that you are talking, so interview. Next we have the sign for how are you. So flat hands, palms back, pointing in, thumbs extended, move up the body and forwards, fingers close into thumb hands. So the whole sign together looks like this. How are you? Turn sideways so you can sort of see. How are you? I'd love to know. Pop a little answer in the comments for me. How are you? Read that again for you. Flat hands, palms back, pointing in, thumbs extended, move up, body and forwards, fingers closing to thumb hands. So, how are you? It's a great little sign, that one. Next we have to tell or inform. So we have our working index hand, palm in, pointing up, moves forwards from your lips. To tell, inform. It's also the sign for speak and say. So if you think about the context of what you're achieving there, so the sign for speak, the sign for to say, the sign for tell or inform, you're doing the same thing. So to tell or to inform. We at Signalong operate on a one sign per concept and one concept per sign policy. So that being said, the sign for bed and the sign for sleep are different. The same for watch and the same sign for time are different because they're not the same context. When you really strip why you're communicating by sign and using Signalong down, the end goal is to cause less confusion and to promote communication. When you have somebody who has autism in particular, they don't deal with change very well. They don't necessarily always understand the differences or similarities between things. So we say, you don't go to bed just to sleep. You might go to bed to watch TV or to read a book because it's where you're more comfortable. And you don't always sleep in your bed. You might sleep in the car if you're on a long journey, or the train, or at, you know, Nan and Granddad's house, something like that. So what we say is, use the appropriate sign for the context that you mean. So you can go to bed, but your eyes are open in our sign because you're not going to sleep. You're just going to bed. But you go to sleep anywhere that you feel more comfortable. And let's be honest, when you've got toddlers and children, they sleep where they drop. I'm guilty of that as well. I don't always sleep in my bed. As I said, the sign for watch and the sign for time are also different because your watch, especially today with all the smartwatches, not necessarily always for telling the time. You might get a text or a call or something like that on there too. But the time can also be on your clock, not just on your watch. So things like that to be considerate of. And you're not always an analog time or a digital time, or things like that. So bear that in mind, that you will have a different sign for a different concept where possible. But some of them, like for tell, inform, speak and say, all look like this because it's all the same context that you are doing. So just bear that in mind. Some of them might be the same but have a different title. It's just because it's the context is the same. So we've got to tell. The next one we have is advocate. So we're going to take our thumb hands, palms in pointing forward, working hand behind. Working hand moves forward to touch supporting hand. And then the formation moves sharply forwards. So I'll turn slightly on the angle so you can see this a bit better. So the sign for advocate looks like this. Advocate. So again, move your working hand to touch your supporting hand and then the whole formation moves forward sharply. So advocate. Thumb hands, palms in, pointing forward, working hand behind. Working hand moves forward to touch supporting hand. Formation makes sharp forwards movement. Advocate. And you don't have to really oomph it across, but advocate. I wish my thumbs would come up a little bit more. Oh, I see everyone's comments now. I'm glad you're all loving it. I'm really pleased. We've worked hard to bring these all to you, and I love that Sarah, your 4-year-old, is joining in and loving it as well. That's fantastic. Thank you. The next sign that we're going to have is afraid or scared. Again, that context is very, very, very similar. So it's the same sign for both. You can be scared and you can be afraid. So our working clawed hand, palm back, pointing in and up. So in and up means it's on that diagonal. Quivers over your heart. So remember, you want to shake that hand. And our shoulders hunch and our body shrinks back. So working clawed hand, palm back, pointing in and up, quivers over heart, shoulders hunch and body shrinks back for afraid and scared. Remember, you can use your facial expression too. Signalong is a total communication system. So we speak, we sign, we use our body language, we use our facial expressions, the whole lot for afraid or scared. They are posted as videos rather than IGTV, so they're all on our grid posts. You'll be able to look through, and they're all on there. So all of the lives that we've done on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube and TikTok are all uploaded on a Friday for all 4 videos, and you can go back and watch them at any time that you want. So yeah, so all of our lives are saved, but they won't be uploaded again until Friday. So make sure that you come back at near the weekend and catch up on those, or join us through the week. Either way. But yes, they're all uploaded, and we're not deleting them, so they'll stay there forever as well. So you can come back and watch them whenever you have time. So yeah. So this is the sign for afraid or scared. Next we have to bully. This sounds like a really horrible thing to teach somebody, but you need to know the difference. You need to know what somebody is doing and know that it isn't right. So we're going to learn the sign for to bully, but be mindful of how you use it. So our index hands, palm down, pointing forward, jab forwards while making small backward circles as though prodding at upper chest. So it will be like this. Turn sideways, so to bully. To bully. As I said, we have a lot of controversial signs, but for somebody that has learning impairments, doesn't necessarily understand what's happening, what people are doing, and people, as much as we don't like to admit it, people can be cruel. And it's quite helpful to know the correct sign, so that when you tell somebody that somebody is bullying you, you know you can get that context across completely accurately. So it might seem a bit strange to learn, but it is a very, very appropriate sign to learn. So yeah, just be mindful. There are some that cause a lot of upset potentially, but the reasoning behind them is because it's not okay, and you need to know that it's not okay, but you need to be able to tell somebody what is happening to you. So don't shoot us, we're just trying to help. The next sign that we have is to hurt. And this is to hurt someone, not you are hurt or I am hurt, because that is just over the painful area. You know, I've hurt my shoulder, my head hurts, I've got a headache. This is to hurt somebody. So you potentially could be bully, but you can also hurt somebody. Accidentally, we hope, of course, but still, again, that context, they do need to be taught for a reason. So we're going to take our working clawed hand. It's going to shake over the painful area. So it's a directional sign. And again, you use that appropriate facial expression. So like I did there. So it could be that you've hurt their shoulder, or your head hurts, their head hurts, your stomach hurts, their stomach hurts. It's the same thing, but use that facial expression as well as your speech and your sign. And sticking with that theme, we have our last one on today's poster, which is to hit or punch. So we're going to take our working fist. Remember, tuck all of those fingernails away. Keep it clamped down with your thumb. Palm down, pointing forward. Move sharply forward from shoulder height. So to hit or to punch. As I said, please be mindful of how you use these signs, because you can completely encourage something that you want to discourage. But again, your call, your decision. You are the communicator, and you understand your person. So be mindful of how you teach them, but do teach them. Working fist, palm down, pointing forward. Move sharply forward from shoulder height. Hit or punch. Turn sideways so you can see that. Hit or punch. I hope that they are all of use and of relevance to you, and I hope that you've enjoyed all of the previous signs that we've been teaching as well. We've tried to pick signs that are appropriate for lots of different ages, lots of types of different people and scenarios. So whilst these might not be relevant to you, they're all handy signs to learn that you can pass on to somebody else or share this video with so they can come and learn. Or you might find that these are completely what you were looking for and what you were after. So we hope that they help you in some way. One final thing, just to sort of say, as I said, this is our last week of lives. We are hoping to bring you more in the future. Not, we know we've turned 30, but potentially we've got another 30 years ahead of us. So we're happy to come back at any point. But let us know what you want to see from us. If this is the kind of thing that you enjoy and you just want to learn a few signs, fab, we can absolutely do that for you. If you want particular signs, again, more than happy to do that. Just get in touch with us and let us know. The other day somebody was asking for signs for pig, you know, and some farm animals, because they were going to the farm that afternoon. So things like that we're more than happy to help with, but we just want to give you the correct and appropriate videos for you, because quite clearly the reaction has been fantastic from everybody enjoying our videos this week and learning with us. So let us know, we'll keep providing them, and we'll keep doing sign of the week from May, so that you will learn a new sign every week. And again, if there's a particular one that you want, if you've got adults especially that you work with and need to know signs for, let us know, because I tend to get lots of requests for children and early years, but we do want some more adult particular words in there as well, so we can help everybody. So that's my mum commenting on the bottom there, so thank you. Yeah, lots of people have said the same thing. Really helpful and really enjoyable to sit and watch. So tomorrow we are live on Facebook at 11, so come back, join us on there if you can. If not, as I said, we're back on live on Wednesday at YouTube in the afternoon, and then TikTok on Thursday. And potentially I might throw in a little surprise on Friday and come back and do a couple of different lives, maybe on a few different things at the same time. But if not, all of these videos will be reposted on Friday, so you can come back and watch again. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me this morning. Have a lovely rest of your Monday. Hope the sun is shining where you are, and yeah, we will see you again soon. So thank you very much. Get my trusty little pen out now, but yeah, thank you and goodbye.